The more you react, the more they control you. Not everything deserves your energy. Not every insult deserves a reply. Not every betrayal deserves a breakdown. The world will keep testing you, with drama, with disappointment, with disrespect. And if you keep handing over your peace in reaction to every hit, then you're no longer living for yourself. You're living on a leash, pulled by other people's opinions, moods, and chaos. But imagine being so rooted in yourself, so still inside, that no matter what they say, no matter what they do, you remain centered, unshaken, like a mountain that doesn't move when the wind howls, like a fire that keeps burning, even in silence. That is what Epictetus calls power. Not loud, aggressive, or performative, but quiet, steady, and immovable. This isn't about denying storms, it's about learning to stand tall in them. It's not about becoming cold, it's about becoming calm. The one who controls his emotions controls his life. And in this video, I'll share with you 18 Stoic rules from Epictetus that will help you become untouchable. Not through control over others, but by mastering the only thing that matters, yourself. Welcome to Stoic Spirit, your home for ancient wisdom applied in modern life. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe and support the channel. Let's begin. Principle number 1, don't react, respond. Epictetus reminds us, it's not things that upset us, but our judgments about them. The event itself is neutral. It's your interpretation that creates the storm. Someone cuts you off in traffic, insults your appearance, questions your worth, and in that split second, you have a choice. Surrender your peace or stay rooted in reason. Most people react. It's instinctive, it's emotional, but reaction is weakness disguised as strength. It's letting someone else push your buttons and watching yourself explode as if they hold the remote to your soul. The Stoic chooses differently. The Stoic pauses, he breathes, he observes, then and only then does he respond. Response is intentional. It's born from awareness, not impulse. When you respond, you don't just protect your dignity, you protect your energy, your clarity, and your position of power. So next time life pokes at you, ask yourself, is this worth my inner peace? Because every time you react to nonsense, you step off your throne to wrestle with clowns. And the wise never play the emotional games of the petty. Principle number 2, expect betrayal, then rise above it. Pain hits hardest when it catches you by surprise. The friend who turns their back, the partner who drifts away, the colleague who secretly envies your growth. What hurts is not just the betrayal, it's the disbelief. I didn't think they would ever do that. But Stoicism teaches us to expect betrayal, not as paranoia, but as preparation. Epictetus reminds us that humans are flawed, inconsistent, and often ruled by their own insecurities. People will fail you, not always because they hate you, but because they don't know how to love you properly. So the more you idealize them, the more disappointed you'll be when their imperfections surface. Instead, train your mind to see reality clearly. Expect imperfection, expect selfishness, expect occasional disloyalty, not to become cold or bitter, but to become ready. Because when you're prepared, betrayal no longer breaks you, it teaches you. You rise above it, not by lashing out, but by detaching. Not by revenge, but by redirection. When someone shows you who they really are, believe it, bless them, and move on with grace. That is how a Stoic walks away, not with scars, but with self-respect. Calm, composed, and one step closer to wisdom. Principle number 3, your silence is stronger than your rage. When someone tries to provoke you, they're not seeking understanding, they're seeking control. They want to rattle you, to pull you into their chaos. And every time you explode, you give them exactly what they wanted, confirmation that they have power over you. But silence leaves them starving. They swing at air, they shout into emptiness, and eventually they exhaust themselves. Epictetus said, if someone provokes you, remember, it is your judgment that provokes you. The insult may exist, but the offense, that's a choice. When you remain silent, you're not weak, you're lethal. You're letting your discipline speak louder than your ego. The world doesn't need more noise. It needs examples of strength that don't need to shout. Silence isn't submission, it's strategy. Sometimes the most powerful answer is no answer at all, because silence can echo louder than any scream. and it always leaves your enemies confused, while your soul remains untouched. Principle number 4. Don't share your pain with everyone. There's a difference between being open and being exposed. Vulnerability is sacred, and it should be shared with those who've earned the right to witness it. But too often, we bleed in front of people who secretly enjoy the sight. Not all hearts are kind. Some people pretend to care just to gather ammunition for later. Epictetus would say, "Guard yourself like a fortress." Your pain is not weakness, but if placed in the wrong hands, it will be weaponized. This doesn't mean you should bottle everything up, but it does mean you should be discerning. Not everyone who listens deserves to hear. Not everyone who asks deserves to know. In a world that rewards oversharing, mystery is power. Keep some chapters of your story for those who actually care about the ending. Let your healing be quiet. Let your growth speak for itself. And remember, when you protect your inner world, you protect your peace. And peace is more valuable than sympathy. Principle number 5. Wealth means nothing without self-respect. You can own luxury, you can wear gold, you can drive the best, eat the best, and sleep in silk sheets. But if you betray your values, if you sell your soul for applause, if you can't look in the mirror and stand tall, you are not rich. You're just heavily decorated. Stoicism flips the definition of wealth on its head. To Epictetus, a man is not wealthy by what he has, but by what he can walk away from without breaking. Can you say no to money that compromises your integrity? Can you lose status and still keep your dignity? That's the real measure of abundance. True wealth is freedom. Freedom from needing approval. Freedom from chasing trends. Freedom from being owned by what you own. Because when you stop defining yourself by possessions, you begin to build something unshakable: self-respect. And that, my friend, is the one form of wealth no one can steal from you. Principle number 6. Let death remind you how to live. Most people run from the thought of death. They avoid it, distract themselves, pretend it's far away. But Epictetus taught the opposite. Carry death on your shoulder. Not to be morbid, but to be awake. Because when you remember that your time is limited, your priorities become crystal clear. Suddenly, impressing strangers feels meaningless. Holding grudges feels like a waste of breath. And chasing money at the cost of your soul? That becomes insanity. Death isn't your enemy, it's your mirror. It shows you what actually matters. It doesn't ask you to be afraid. It asks you to be honest. Look at your schedule, your habits, your conversations. If death knocked today, would you be proud of how you've lived? Would your actions align with your purpose or with distraction? Let this truth fuel your choices. Let it simplify your desires. Because when you live with death in mind, you stop wasting time. You stop wasting you. Principle number 7. Detach from outcomes. You don't control the applause. You don't control the weather. You don't control whether they stay or leave or love you back. What you do control is your effort, your attitude, and your ability to walk away with peace, even when things don't go your way. Epictetus taught that the more we cling to outcomes, the more we suffer. Obsession turns into desperation, and desperation turns us into slaves to results we were never meant to own. But when you detach, something shifts. You still care, but you're no longer owned by what happens next. You become dangerous because you're free. Do your best, then release it. Work hard, then surrender the result. You were never meant to control every wave. You were meant to surf them. When you stop needing life to go a certain way, you start living with lightness. You stop drowning in what if and start rising with what is. That's real freedom. If you're finding value in this video so far, take a second to subscribe and support the channel. It helps us create more Stoic content like this, and we truly appreciate you being here. Principle number 8. Don't try to fix people. You can love someone deeply and still realize they are not your responsibility to repair. You can want the best for them and still accept that they may choose their own destruction. And that's one of the hardest lessons of life. You cannot save someone who doesn't want to be saved. Epictetus didn't preach coldness, he preached clarity. Help when you can. Offer your hand. Offer your wisdom. But don't offer your soul to people who are committed to their chaos, because trying to fix the broken in others while ignoring the cracks in yourself will only leave you shattered. There's a kind of heroism in letting go, in saying, I see your pain, but I will no longer carry it for you. This isn't cruelty, it's courage, and it's how you begin to save the one person you can change, yourself. Heal you, elevate you, and maybe, just maybe, your strength will become their invitation to rise. Principle number 9. You owe no one an explanation for your peace. You don't need to justify your silence. You don't owe people reasons for why you disappeared, why you unfollowed, why you stopped explaining yourself to those who never truly listened. Your peace is not a group project. It's not up for debate, and it's not something you need to apologize for. In a world that glorifies constant availability, choosing solitude is revolutionary. People will call you selfish for setting boundaries. Let them. People will say you've changed. Let them. Because protecting your energy is not a betrayal of others. It's an act of loyalty to yourself. Epictetus reminds us that it's not about pleasing everyone. It's about becoming unshakable. And that often means walking away quietly from people who thrive in noise. So stop bleeding for those who wouldn't even offer you a bandage. You are not cold. You are clear. You are not distant. You are discerning. And that's not weakness. That's wisdom. Principle number 10. Be underestimated. It's your secret weapon. There is a quiet power in being overlooked, in not needing to prove yourself, in letting the world misread you while you sharpen your edge in silence. Epictetus said, "It is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows." And that goes for you too. Stay teachable, stay humble, and stay low until it's time to rise. Don't brag. Don't overshare your plans. Let people think you're average while you build in the shadows. The moment you crave validation, you lose focus. But when you detach from recognition, you gain clarity. You move smarter. You protect your momentum. Let your growth be private. Let your results surprise them. The Stoic doesn't need applause to act with excellence, because excellence is its own reward. Be underestimated, and use that space to become undeniable. Principle number 11. Choose discomfort over regret. Growth is painful. That's the truth no one wants to tell you. It will stretch you, break your comfort zones, and force you to let go of the person you used to be. But staying the same? That hurts too, just in slower, quieter ways. Regret doesn't scream, it whispers. It haunts. It visits you in the silence between what you could have done and what you actually chose. Epictetus would say, "Don't hope that events will turn out the way you want, but welcome events in whichever way they happen." And often, those events are uncomfortable. But within that discomfort lies your transformation. The choice is always there. Suffer now through discipline, or suffer later through disappointment. So if you must feel pain, let it be the pain of progress. If you must endure hardship, let it be the kind that makes you wiser. Because the discomfort of today is temporary, but the strength you build through it will serve you for a lifetime. And that, the Stoics knew, is always worth it. Principle number 12. People who mock you reveal their own weakness. When someone tries to belittle you, what they're really doing is broadcasting their insecurity. Ridicule is rarely about truth. It's about projection. A confident man doesn't need to tear others down. He's too busy building himself up. He doesn't waste his breath on sarcasm or insult. He reflects, he listens, and he improves. That's what makes him strong. Epictetus reminds us, if evil be spoken of you and it be true, correct yourself. If it be a lie, laugh at it. Either way, your peace remains untouched. So when they mock you, don't flinch. Don't explain, don't engage. Because in that moment, they reveal something, and it's not about you. It's about their own unhealed wounds, their fear of your calm, and their resentment toward your growth. Let their noise pass like wind through trees. You are not obligated to pick up every stone thrown your way. The more centered you are, the less these attacks even register. So don't take it as a blow. Take it as confirmation. You've become something they can't ignore. And that's power. Principle number 13. Energy is your currency. Spend it wisely. You wouldn't walk down the street handing out $100 bills to every stranger you see, would you? Then why give your mental and emotional energy to every provoker, every troll, every person who's clearly trying to drain you? Your focus, your attention, your emotional bandwidth, these are limited and they are sacred. Epictetus taught, it is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Every time you argue with fools, over-explain to critics, or stew in someone else's chaos, you've just made an investment. But was it worth the return? Start treating your energy like gold. Ask yourself before every interaction, is this worth it? Does this elevate me or deplete me? When you begin living like this, everything changes. Your peace increases, your clarity sharpens, and your life gets simpler. You don't need to fight every battle. In fact, most are just traps in disguise. Walk away. Preserve your fuel for the path that actually leads somewhere. Because in the Stoic mind, wasting energy on nonsense is the real poverty. Principle number 14. Don't tie your identity to anyone. It's beautiful to love. It's brave to open your heart. But when your identity is wrapped around another person, their approval, their presence, their validation, you are no longer standing on solid ground. You are floating, hoping they won't let go. And that, Epictetus would say, is slavery disguised as affection. He taught, seek not the good in external things, seek it in yourselves. You were whole before them, you'll be whole after. Relationships are meant to enrich your life, not define it. The moment you forget who you are outside of them, you begin to shrink, you compromise, you mold yourself to fit into someone else's story, and in doing so, you disappear from your own. So love deeply, connect fully, but always remember, your soul is yours, your path is yours. Never hand over your sense of self just to keep someone from leaving. Because anyone who requires your self-abandonment for their comfort was never meant to stay. Real strength is this, being able to say, I choose you, but I don't need you to be me. That's not detachment, that's liberation. Principle number 15. Simplicity is freedom. The more you add to your life, the more chances you create for anxiety to enter. More possessions, more noise, more opinions, and suddenly, what once felt like abundance becomes a burden. But simplicity? Simplicity clears the fog. It returns you to what matters. Epictetus lived with almost nothing, not because he couldn't have more, but because he understood that the fewer things you depend on, the freer you become. You don't need the latest status symbol to feel whole. You don't need to fill every silence with sound, a quiet room, a clear mind, a body at peace. What more do you really need? When you reduce your wants, you reclaim your power. Because the man who desires little is never desperate, never manipulated, never pulled off course. So cut the excess, detach from the chase, and you'll discover that peace isn't something you achieve. It's what's left when you stop chasing what never mattered. Principle number 16. Walk away with dignity. You don't need to shout to make a point. You don't need to slam doors to mark your exit. In fact, the most powerful departure is the silent one. The one where you carry yourself with such peace, the world notices your absence more than it ever respected your presence. Epictetus taught, freedom is the only worthy goal in life. And sometimes freedom looks like walking away from arguments, from toxic love, from spaces where your soul no longer fits. Not in anger, not in bitterness, but in calm, decisive clarity. Revenge screams, dignity whispers. Choose the whisper, because when you leave with grace, you don't just free yourself, you disarm the very people who tried to pull you into chaos. Let them wonder why you didn't fight back. Let your silence speak for you. There is nothing more powerful than a person who doesn't flinch, doesn't beg, and doesn't need closure to move on. Principle number 17. Choose friends who challenge you, not flatter you. The people around you shape your standards. They influence your habits, your mindset, and your vision of what's possible. So be ruthless in who you allow into your circle. Do they push you to grow, or just keep you comfortable? Do they challenge your excuses, or enable your mediocrity? Epictetus would advise you to walk with those who reflect the strength you seek to build. A Stoic doesn't surround himself with noise and vanity. He aligns with people of character, discipline, and vision. Not perfect people, but purposeful ones. warriors, not spectators. If your circle is always praising but never pushing you, that's not friendship, that's flattery. And flattery is cheap. True friends will call you out, hold you to your word, and refuse to let you shrink. So choose wisely, because your environment isn't just where you are, it's who you become. Principle number 18. Control the controllable. Release the rest. You are not your past mistakes. You are not your titles. You are not even your emotions. You are the calm observer behind it all, the one who watches, learns, and decides what to hold on to and what to release. Epictetus built his entire philosophy on this one idea. Some things are up to us and some things are not. The sooner you accept this, the lighter your life becomes. You don't control how others feel about you. You don't control every outcome, but you do control your response, your integrity, your effort. Trying to manage the uncontrollable is like trying to stop the ocean with your hands. It will only exhaust you. But when you shift your focus to what's within your command, your thoughts, your actions, your mindset, you reclaim your power. So let go. Let go of the fear. Let go of the expectations. Let go of everything that isn't yours to carry. And what's left? Clarity, strength, and a life lived in alignment with the Stoic path. You don't need to react to everything. That's not weakness, that's wisdom. In fact, the more silent you become in the face of chaos, the louder your strength speaks. The world may try to provoke you, define you, or distract you, but your power lies in your refusal to be moved by noise. What they think of you is none of your business. What matters is how you choose to show up, regardless of how you're seen. Because your response, not your rage, is what builds your legacy. Act as if nothing bothers you, not to pretend you're emotionless, but to prove you're unshakable. Not to deceive the world, but to liberate yourself from needing its approval. Because when you no longer seek control over others and master the control within, you become untouchable. This is how you walk like a Stoic, with quiet strength, with inner stillness, with a mind that doesn't flinch and a heart that doesn't beg. This is how you rise above the world, without ever needing to leave it. Thank you for watching and spending your time on this journey of self-mastery. If this message spoke to you, help us spread the Stoic spirit by subscribing to the channel. Your support fuels more content like this. Comment below, untouchable spirit, if you've made it to the end. Subscribe for more Stoic wisdom every week. And until next time, walk with strength, live with clarity. See you in the next video.